Boys and girls, welcome back to our second video of ADC coaching. I am You Get the Horns 13. You can follow me at You Get the Horns Flock on twitch.tv or subscribe. With your Prime, it's free for you, not for me. Also, like, comment, and subscribe on this video and help me bunches. Alright, let's get to it today. So first of all, we're going to be talking about runes and build sets. And I'm be talking about Missfortune in particular, but a lot of this stuff you can use for other range and ADC champs, even assassins, right? So let's get into it. So for Missfortune, first of all, let me find what we're going to be talking about today. Let me get the Eclipse in here as well. Okay, so first of all, what we're going to be talking about today is 3 different builds for Missfortune. First off, starting with my favorite, the Eclipse build. And Eclipse gives you 55 AD, 18 lethality, and it gives you Omnivamp. I really like this build and this item because of its armor penetration. And like I said in the first video, which if you haven't already, please get out of this video, go watch the first video, or afterwards go watch the first video. Let me know what you think, like, comment, all that kind of stuff. Anyways, back to the Eclipse item. It is a great item because it scales very well. It's seen to scale very well, and it's great for lane dominance. Like I said in the first video, it gives you some lethality, gives you some attack damage, and it gives you Omnivamp, or what we used to call lifesteal, which I don't know why they changed it, but they changed it. Anyways, it gives you lifesteal, and it's a lot easier to rush this item than it used to be to rush other crit items in Season 11 because you had to wait 1300 to get to that AD power spike with the BF, which I believed at the time gave you 40. I don't know if it's any different right now for BF items. I don't even know what items have BF currently. But it's great. It's a less expensive item. It's lethality, and lethality builds, the reason why I love lethality builds as well is because they do more damage to towers. Crit does not do damage to towers. You cannot crit on towers, but lethality works on towers. So it's tower busting, split pushing, busting builds when you go full lethality, or even half lethality, half crit, whatever you want to do. But I love Eclipse because of its lifesteal and Omnivamp potential in lane, and its scaling potential with armor penetration. And given that Last Whisper was taken out of more Reminder, which is on my list, we'll get to that. Armor penetration doesn't come at great lengths anymore like it used to with Last Whisper because it's only in 1 or 2 items now. And moving on to the second item of this build is Collector. I love this item. I love Collector. I love it. It gives you 55 AD, and it gives you your crit and your 12 lethality. And we're not too worried about the crit, but it does give you crit, which is an added plus with the lethality. But the great thing is it's an execution item, and ADCs have been waiting for an item like this. And when you're going against squishy champs and you're late in the game, or even mid game, or even in lane, depending on when you get this item, it is proven to be very worthy, and it's evident that it is great against squishies and assassins and mages, which are definitely in meta right now, a lot stronger than ADCs. I'm not going to really get into that this video, but it is a great item, and I think with all these other items being pretty situational, these 2 items for my favorite build are a go-to every single time. I rush Eclipse, and I go into Collector. Thirdly, I go into Umamas, which is right here. I go into Yo Mamas or Edge of Night. These 4 items, a lot of the times I build all 4 of them every single game. And I'll start with Yo Mamas. Dustblade is a great item because it gives you tons of attack damage. It gives you lethality. And the best thing about it, it's passive. It gives you movement speed. Movement speed is great because it's just another way to get in and out of fights quicker if you don't have flash, heal, or any of your sums up. Secondly, Edge of Night is also a great 3rd or 4th item. Because of its passive, it has a spell shield that blocks next enemy abilities, and it gives you 50 AD, a little more lethality, and another great thing, it gives you 325 health. And health is good. Health is good for ADCs this season because guess what? It gives you a longer time to live, baby, and that's what we're talking about. Now, this next item, 4th, 5th, whatever, situational item, the next 3 items I'll be talking about are all situational. But starting with Cleaver, I like Cleaver. It used to be really good in Season 9 on Missfortune in the lethality build, and I think it's back. I don't see a ton of people building it, but I personally really like this item in my build set when I don't need a ton of more damage in my kit. I really just need a little more survivability. Cleaver does that for you, so I definitely recommend that. And our next situational item is Death's Dance. Recommend it. It's a great item, especially against assassins and AD tanks. And lastly, Mortal Reminder. Obviously, just like last season, you got a lot of comps that heal. They heal a lot. And Mortal Reminder has an anti-healing item in it called Executioners. It's only 800 gold. It's a great item. It's great to just have in your kit. You don't even have to finish building Mortal Reminder. If you're like, after your first or second item is finished, let's say you finish Eclipse and Collector and you're like, they got a Nunu and a Nami. It's killing me in fights. Let's build Executioners. Let's just have that anti-heal in our kit. It's great. It's 800 gold. Not expensive. Build it, and get that dub. So next build is another lethality build. Let's take this out. Let's take this out. Let's take this out. And let's take all these out. This is a little confusing at the moment. And let's just talk about this right here. So first of all, if you want to go the Dustblade route, it's also turning in to be a great ranged item as they keep nerfing Eclipse for ranged champions. It does make you invisible after an assist or a kill in a team fight or any fight for that matter. It makes you invisible and gives you an easy get out of team fights if you're in a sticky situation. And if you have flash or heal, it makes it even easier to get out of fights because people can't see you using those sums right off the bat. They don't know where you're at. It's a stealthy item. That's why a lot of assassins like Kha'Zix, Kiana, people like that are using this item as well. It gives you lots of AD, 55 to be exact, 18 lethality, and it gives you ability haste. Eclipse does not give you ability haste, but this Dustblade doesn't give you Omnivamp or Lifesteal. So there's a little difference. A lot of it's preference and the type of player you are and your playstyle. So just keep that in mind. But if you are going this build, I do recommend that you rush Bloodthirster instead of rushing Dustblade. It's more prominent in lane. It's more durable. First item to have on Missfortune in particular specifically is very good on her. It still gives you 55 AD. Eclipse also gives you 55 AD. So you're not missing much right there. You're missing the passive that Eclipse gives you. But that's not too big of a deal early in the game, so it does not hurt you rushing a non-mythic item like Bloodthirster first on really any ADC. I'm just going to go out there and say that, but Missfortune specifically, super good on Missfortune. Bloodthirster you can put in any of these builds for her because she uses it great. With her shielding ability, it gives her the ability to keep her W up longer in team fights and one-on-ones, 1v1s. So keep that in mind. I would always, if you're going to go the Dustblade route, to rush Bloodthirster. And I think Collector is just such a good item that I wouldn't not build it in any of these builds, crit or any of the 2 lethality builds that I've mentioned. So secondly, let's go into the crit builds. Starting with Immortal Shield Bow, Kraken Slayer, and Gale Force. Alright, so we got our 3 lethality, or my bad, the 3 critical strike mythic items that you can build on Missfortune. This preseason, this patch in particular, they got a little buff. Kraken Slayer got a little buff. Gale Force, I don't think got a buff, but I know Kraken Slayer got a buff and was reduced. Expensive, not as expensive as it was. Kraken Slayer gives you a 3rd empowered auto attack, so it's super good again with press the attack, which we'll get to. That's a rune set. We'll get to that later. First off, though, these 3 items are good. I don't like critical chance or critical strike builds as much, especially on MF, because it is just harder for ADC champs to get to 100% this season. As you notice, all these critical chance items have been reduced to 20% from the original 25%. So instead of 4 items getting you to 100%, now it's going to take 5 items to get you to 100% crit. And so it's not going to scale as fast. You're not going to feel as strong. You're not going to get that 3 item power spike that you got last season when you went crit, starting with, let's say, Eye Edge, Bloodthirster, or whatever. You're not going to get that 3 item spike because it's just not giving you that extra crit, right? If you went 3 crit last season, you would be 15%, 5, 10, 15, 15% up from what you would be at this season, and that number means a lot when you're coming into mid game. Unless you're super fed, 3 items at 25 minutes is 25 to 30 minutes is pretty average, right? You're not going to be that strong with crit. It's still a good build. It's still very viable. And Kraken Slayer is very good against tanks. That's also why I liked Eclipse. I forgot to kind of mention that, but it was kind of inferred with the armor penetration, it is still good against tanks, and it scales very well against tanks. Kraken Slayer does that as well. It is the crit item that's anti-tank. It's the anti-tank crit item. So it's definitely my favorite on MF. I think it's very good if you're running press the attack, and it works off her bounces as well. I don't know if that's a bug or if they're going to fix that, but as of right now in 10.24, the patch preseason, it works off her Q, and it turns out to be very good in lane once you get it. Immortal Shield Bow is not as good on Missfortune. It does give you the lifesteal or the Omnivamp or whatever you want to call it. It gives you the lifesteal, but it doesn't give you too much lifesteal. It really just gives you more durability in teamfights with the shield. Once you reach 30% health, it gives you a little shield. A little shield, I mean a big shield. Kind of big shield. I think they meant for it to be bigger. It's not as big. I'm not going to get into it, but Rito wanted that shield to be bigger. I think they're buffing that shield actually this patch, 10.25, to happen next week. Gale Force is good for immobile ADC champs or immobile range champs. It gives them a little mobility. I think it's very good on MF and Jhin for the crit builds. But I would not take it over Kraken because the Kraken Slayer is just a better item in general. I think Bloodthirster is always good. If you're going to go Kraken, this is my crit build. If I were to go crit on Missfortune today, I go Kraken Slayer into Bloodthirster into Collector, right? These are the three core items for crit. They all give you crit, and Bloodthirster now gives you crit. It didn't before, which is super nice. So you're going to be at 60% critical chance strike once you get these three items. Not as good as it would have been last season, but more items give you crit now, which is also good. So onto the runes. Let's go on to the runes. So first off, we'll be talking about Press the Attack. Press the Attack is very good on Missfortune. It's an auto, hit your W and your Q, or a Q auto, or a Q off a minion auto. There's so many different ways to get your Press the Attack proc off, and it's a great rune right now for just about any ranged champ, as you're going to be wanting to do at least 3 auto attacks. It gives you something to work towards in team fights as well. Being able to focus one champion will prove to be better and better for you and your team. They're going Overheal and Bloodline into Coup de Grace. I like the Overheal and Bloodline, as with Omnivamp and Lifesteal, it gives you more of that. It becomes a shield, and it scales throughout the game with Bloodline. Coup de Grace is good because it deals more damage to low health enemy champs, but I would even go to say that this rune right here in particular, is very situational. Going Coup de Grace or even Cut Down or even Last Stand, they're all three very good this season for ranged champions and Missfortune in particular, but Cut Down is definitely one that I go pretty much every single game because it is a tank meta currently. And then your second rune set would be Sorcery into Nimbus Cloak and Gathering Storm. Nimbus Cloak gives you the movement speed that you need after you use a summer spell, and Gathering Storm allows you to scale a little bit over time through the game. Obviously, this gives you attack speed, adaptive force, and this is also situational. You can do armor or magic resist is the best route, right? So the next build is Dark Harvest build. Also a very good build. It's primarily used for the lethality build, but it can be used for crit. It's not bad either way because it gives you bonus AD damage. So either way, it's not a bad thing because it's giving you AD, and both item sets and builds use AD, obviously. And AD is very good on Missfortune. In particular, it's good on all ADCs or all AD champs, but it's very, very good on Missfortune. And whenever I'm playing, I'm always thinking, I just need items early if I'm ahead to keep stacking my AD to be strong, win, right? Dark Harvest does that, especially if you're an aggressive player. This is a great rune set. Going in the cheap shot, you can get this proc off with your E. I personally like Taste of Blood better because I don't use my E as much. It uses a lot of mana, and there aren't many items that give mana this season, so I like to go Taste of Blood into Eyeball Collection. And the great thing about this rune set now, Ravenous Hunter gives you Omnivamp, and it scales throughout the game, and it's very good, right? It's another lifesteal ability in your rune set, so That's why Dark Harvest is becoming very popular with ranged champions and Missfortune in particular. Secondly, they go Triumph into Legend Alacrity, and this is to give you a little more attack speed because you don't really have it here in this rune set. Like if you went PTA, right? You have the engraved in the rune set attack speed. You don't have it here, so they want to give it to you. And I would even say you could go instead of Triumph, you could go Alacrity into Cut Down, Coup de Grace, or Last Stand. I think personally that would be more beneficial in a lot of these tank heavy games, but completely up to you. Situational with the same attack speed, adaptive force into either magic resist or armor. Given AD assassins and tanks are really in meta right now. Obviously it's preseason and a lot of that will change down the road. It's still very important that you realize champ select what might be better because this is good in lane specifically. So that's pretty much it for today. I just wanted to let you guys know on how to get better if you want to be Missfortune mains, want to play Missfortune, want to dabble in the preseason. Preseason is a time to dabble with new champs. So if you haven't played Missfortune and you're trying to win some games, I can tell you right now, the 3 builds that I gave you are very good, very viable. And the Eclipse build, like I said earlier, is the best build in my opinion. Doesn't mean it is the best build because I think this season is more about what your preference is. There's a lot more options. There's a lot more build sets to go. Get creative with it, right? So you don't have to go item by item, but this is just something to kind of help you guys, help the viewers out, become better Missfortunates on the Rift. So that's pretty much it. If you liked the video, please like it, please comment, please subscribe to the channel, and go check out my Twitch at You Get the Horns Flock, twitch.tv. Thanks for watching, boys, and welcome to the Horns Club.